Okay, for this topic, we are still gonna talk about the epithelial tissue. Last topic, we talked about the lining or covering subtype of epithelium. This time, we will be focusing on the glandular type. And as what we have talked about earlier, the glandular type of epithelium is very different from your lining epithelium because its function is very different as well. Coming from its name, glandular epithelium basically is what makes up the glands in your body. So, one question that we want to ask is, are the key components of your epithelial tissue in general still present in the glandular type of epithelium? So the answer is yes. First, we still have your basement membrane. Next, the cells are still closely attached to one another, therefore, they would still contain your junctions, okay? Or intercellular junctions. So, still, basement membrane and closely packed cells, still, they are agreeing with the general characteristics of your epithelial tissue. Maybe except for the last part, no? Except for the part wherein the epithelial tissue lining, especially for the lining epithelial tissue wherein it is avascular or do not contain blood vessels. Because in the glandular epithelium, again, there are subtypes of subclassifications. So, guys, you will realize in microscopic anatomy or histology, as with other aspects of your other courses, there is always subclassifications, no? For the glandular epithelium, we would have your exocrine gland and your endocrine gland. No? For the endocrine gland, guys, the main difference between the two is the exocrine gland functions to release its secretion outside of the body. May it be the outside surface of your body or outside into the lumen of your stomach, etc. Or in the lumen outside of your mouth. So exocrine glands would have pipe quote unquote structure or ducts that would need to transport these secretions from the secretory units out. While the other type of your gland, which we will not be focusing more in the glandular epithelium story, because we would have one whole topic for this in Beta 106, no? It does not have a duct system because the secretions of the secretory cells go directly inside the body into the bloodstream. So this type of gland actually has blood capillaries or a vascular system embedded within its structure, okay? Because it transports its secretions into the bloodstream, and it doesn't need a duct system because the blood vessels are directly embedded and closely located to the secreting cells. Okay? Anyway, let's focus on the exocrine gland, and then what I have told you earlier. Exocrine glands, or just glands for today's topic, is basically composed of two parts. Okay, listen well, no? You would have your duct system or the pipeline. No production of materials here, just facilitates the secretion. Okay? Plumbing. Okay? It's just pipes. While the secretory units, this one, are the ones which have specialized cells that are actually doing the production of the secretion. Okay? So, two parts. Secretory units and duct system. Okay? So how do we classify the glands? We classify it using these several questions, okay? So let's try to answer them or expound on them one by one, okay? One versus multiple cells, we've already talked about this. For one cell, we have your goblet cells, no? So we have already been seeing this even beforehand. This is what a goblet cell look like. It looks like your goblet glass, no? So if you're a fan of Harry Potter, you would have the goblet of fire. But within you, apparently, you have the goblet of mucus, o, di ba? These goblet cells basically produce and secrete mucus. And in its own, this cell is already a type of unicellular gland. Okay? While majority of other glands need the cooperation of multiple cells in order to produce its secretion, and thus it needs a duct system for the secretion to go out. Okay, so the secretory units of your multicellular gland is more than one cell. Okay, and majority of the glands that you are encountering in your gross anatomy, the glands which can stand on its own, which has its own name, mandibular gland, mandibular salivary gland, parotid salivary gland, they will be your multiple cells or multicellular glands. Okay? The duct system, again, exocrine versus endocrine. If with ducts, it is your exocrine gland. It needs the duct because it needs to transport its secretion outside. Okay? While your ductless glands or your endocrine glands do not need them. How about the manner by which they secrete the product? We have three types, no? We have your merocrine, apocrine, and holocrine. Okay? As you can see, it changes the first part of the term or the classification. Okay? For the merocrine, most glands will have this method of secretion wherein the secretions are secreted out by themselves. Only the secretory products contained in small vesicles are excreted out. While in the apocrine gland, the apical part, the top part of your cell, which is most in contact, or not really in contact, nearest the lumen, is secreted off together with the secretion. Okay? So for apocrine type of glands, you would tend to see pinched off structure. So later, let's see, no? An example of this would be your mammary gland and some apocrine type of secretory units in your sweat glands as well. Hopefully, we get to see more of this in your laboratory and in the pictures later. Okay? Top part is removed along with the contents. And then finally, we have the most martyr out of all the types of gland as described by the manner of how it secretes. No, you would have your holocrine secretion, wherein the whole cell actually dies and secretes itself with the secretions. This is especially true with your sebaceous glands. So, makikita talaga natin yan. Okay? Mero, apo, and holocrine. So, actual photos, you can see the merocrine. No part of the actual cell is secreted with the secretions. For the apocrine, you will see the apical blebs. The apical part of the cell is secreted. While for the holocrine glands, such as that one, you can see that what? The cells, in order to secrete the product, it would eventually die as it goes up. And by the time that it's dead, the whole cell will be expelled out. No? This makes sense, no? The manner by which the secretions are being excreted also reflects the consistency or the nature of the secretion, right? For example, for the sebaceous cells, you would have your sebum. And what does sebum look like? Oh, examine your face. Oh, do you have white heads or black heads? Oh, those are basically your sebum, di ba? Stuck in the ducts, di ba? So what can you say? They are very viscous, mucus-like, right? Which makes sense because whole particles of cells are with the secretion. Diba? Okay. So, what do their product look like? Again, basically two types, no? And it's usually um, can be described by the secretory units, no? To continue about the thickness, it basically tells you about the thickness of the product. If the product is watery, it is termed serous. If it is sticky, mucus, gooey, like it's like your snot or your sipon or your phlegm, then it's mucus in nature. And the secretory units will look different depending on which product it is actually producing and secreting. If the product is thin, then the nuclei are round and is placed more centrally because you don't need to have extra space for a thicker product such as in your mucous cells wherein the nucleus is flattened to give way, to give space for your thicker mucus-like secretions. Okay? Again, based on the shape of the nucleus and the placement of the nucleus, if it's more central or it's just flattened to the sides. Okay? So you would have your serous, your mucus, and the in between called your mixed glands. Okay? So in a mixed gland, in one gland, for example, your salivary gland, specifically your parotid or mandibular gland, you can have separate, entirely separate secretory units which produce one type of secretion. Serous only with the round nuclei, dark cytoplasm still, while you can only also have your mucous secretory units which have flattened nuclei and lightly staining nuclei kasi nga because the majority of the cytoplasm of the cells are actually filled up by the mucous thick fluid. And another manifestation of this is in some glands you would have both cells, serous and mucous cells in one unit. But again, this is an artifact. This is a byproduct of the fixation and processing, no? Some salivary glands, the serous part will fuse, seemingly fuse with the mucous part to form a moon-like shaped serous unit, aka your serous demilune, no? Demilune, half moon, crescent moon, no? But of course, it's called demilune, luna, diba? So, anyway, what the key point here is cirrus demilunes are actually artifacts, okay? They are not actual structures, no? It is a byproduct of the processing of paraffin fixed tissues, okay? And some glands would be more susceptible to the formation of cirrus demilunes, while some glands will not be. Thus, they would have separate. But anyway, both of these manifestations or style of mixing, may it be a seemingly single unit or separate units within a single gland, will still be considered as your mixed type of gland. Okay? Because there's still your mucous and serous secretory cells or units. Okay? Another important component of your glands would be your myoepithelial cells. These myoepithelial cells are usually found located outside, no, the clump or layer of your secreting cells. They are usually um, in the nearest the basement membrane. And coming from its name, any idea, myo usually pertains to yes, muscle, no? So they are basically epithelial cells with the characteristics of muscle cells. And what do muscle cells do? Anong ginagawa nila? They function in, anong favorite nilang gawin? Mag-contract. Yes. So basically, myoepithelial cells help your secretory units to contract in order to expel their secretions out. Okay, this is important because these myoepithelial cells, especially in cases of glands which are very prone to forming cancerous versions of themselves, instead of the secretory cells being the most numerous, there will be the proliferation of the myoepithelial cells. Okay, so very usual yan, especially in the mammary gland tumors. But again, these myoepithelial cells are best visualized using special staining. In this case, again, we opted to stain or color the specific protein of myoepithelial cells brown. So, yan. So, in this case, this is called immunohistochemistry. It is basically a type of special stain wherein instead of using chemicals to selectively stain and visualize parts, you are using antibodies. Kasi these antibodies are the ones which would detect protein A, B, or C, etc. Again, myoepithelial cells are best appreciated if it is stained using IHC or immunohistochemistry. Okay, what about the shape of the secretory units? Basically, the secretory units, imagine the secretory units are 3D in shape. No? They're like clusters. They can be tubular, test tube shaped, or acinar or alveolar. And majority of references would basically interchange the acinar and alveolar. In my case, for our purpose, I think it's just enough to differentiate between acinar, alveolar, and tubular versus tubular. Wherein cross-sectionally, you can see that the cells of your tubular secretory glands or secretory units would have a more cuboidal shape of individual cells, while those which are of your acinar or alveolar basically has a pizza or pie-shaped cell structure. Okay? Other references would argue that the alveolar style of secretory units would have an even bigger lumen than your tubular because it mimics the alveoli or the sac-like appearance of your lungs, okay? Which I think will be quite difficult to appreciate at this time point because we are not yet basically discussing the histology of the lung. Okay? Again, it's not important to differentiate between acinar and alveolar. Okay? So 3D like, it should look like this. And then the end piece or the secretory unit, it can be straight. Under tubular, it can either be straight or coiled. Okay? Actual example, this is your duct system and this is your secretory unit and the shape is tubular or like a test tube. And for the acinar or alveolar here, the secretory units that we saw earlier, you can see that they are like pie shape. Okay? And other more boring areas with the cuboidal, simple cuboidal lining epithelium, they are more boring. They are not producing anything. They are just plumbing or pipes. They are the duct system. Here you can see you have the duct system and then you would have like your combination of tubular and alveolar end units. Okay, again, here you can see some references would argue that the mammary glands secretory units are alveolar, specifically alveolar since it has a big lumen. Okay, again, another this is a version of tubular but this time it is coiled, so this part would be your secretory unit and this part would be your maybe your duct system. Okay, so based on the shape of your pipes and or your ducts and your secretory units or the end pieces, you can name your glands. Okay, you just combine them. Okay, based on how complicated they are. If the duct is just single, then it will be simple. Okay, simple duct. If the duct is branching, then we call it compound. So here, branch pa siya, it's branching. If the secretory units is unbranched, only one unit per one duct or per one end, sorry, per one duct, it is unbranched, no? But if it is multiple secretory units, it's branched. Sorry, like this. Okay? So it means the more complicated the duct system, the more complicated the secretory units, usually. Okay? So, again, a summary of what we have talked about. If you combine this different duct system and secretory unit system, we can have your tubular, simple, tubular straight, or simple coiled tubular, simple duct system, branched secretory system that is tubular in shape. So simple branched tubular. Okay. So here are actual photos wherein you have a simple duct system, and you can see that the cellular morphology of the duct versus the secretory system is actually different. So simple, straight, then one, two, more than one. So branched, tubular, gland, diba? So it's very easy because you just describe what you are seeing, okay? Simple and alveolar gland. So if it is unbranched, usually you don't have to indicate that it's unbranched. But if you want to indicate, then it's okay as well. Okay? Here is a simple branched and then alveolar shape. Okay? And then the more complicated it gets, you will have your compound duct system and then tubular shaped secretory units. Then you would have your compound duct system. Usually, guys, if you have a compound style or complicated duct system, more often than not, if not usually, it's um, branched. Or, sorry, it should be the other way around. If you have a branched type of secretory unit system, you would have a compound style of duct system. Okay? Is compound tubular alveolar. So guys, if you see multiple secretory units like this, it's so complicated. So most likely it will need a complicated branching tree-like structure for the duct system. So it will automatically be compound, classified as compound. Okay? The same holds true with your mammary gland, no? The more complicated and the more numerous the secretory units, it is safe to assume that the duct system, which will carry out the secretions from this complicated morphology or structure or organization of secretory system, needs to be complicated as well. Okay, so that's all for the glandular epithelium. Again, do not forget to accomplish the attendance form. Thank you.